show you this disgusting Nazi exchange between J.D. Vance and a little Nazi child.
Hey, Henry, it's good to meet you, Henry. Ask your question, please.
Sounds like a Nazi.
Come up here.
All right, so he'll explain that.
Henry said, I skipped school. Can I have a picture with you? Well, I guess you're going to have some excuse to skip school, so I might as well get a photo with Henry.
All right, look at these two Klansmen here. Watch this white kid come up on the stage. Watch this. Oh, look at him. He's wearing an American flag and a Trump hat. Shout out to Henry. Hillary hates it, man. Wow.
Now the next reporter is going to be, hey, I'm from CNN. Can I get a photo with you too? I wish that I got questions that easy.
All right, so we're all now complicit in watching a Nazi rally, as you saw here. So those white males are really responsible for all of this. It has nothing to do with the Democrats, nothing to do with calling Trump a Nazi for years, instigating these trans ideologies that are leading people to go into weird psychotic breaks who think that they can just go shoot people now, coming from their side, writing inscriptions on the bullets, and eliminating people in multiple locations, happening in a repeated onslaught, which is exactly why Antifa needed to be designated a domestic terror organization, so that these murderers stop murdering people from all sides. And Clinton, Crockett, and the rest of them can't help turn down the temperature on their side because they want more of it. They won't say that, but they're happy with the direction this is going. We're not. We're going to continue to speak loudly and advocate for liberty and freedom while they advocate for murder and death. We think we'll be the winners and victors in this battle. All right, so good updates over there. Now, let's talk about John Bolton and how in trouble he is. And we're going to need a picture of John Bolton here, familiar with who we're talking about. And yeah, this was from Politico. Yep, this is the one. Yep, indeed. John Bolton in big trouble. We now know that the FBI says that they got classified documents in his D.C. office. He was raided some time ago. We saw a bunch of people coming out with boxes and boxes of materials. And this guy was the former UN National Security Advisor. He's now probably going to be getting indicted. Same guy who's screeching and shouting from the rooftops about what a danger Trump is, lecturing Trump about classified documents in Mar-a-Lago. He had a bunch of them in his house, allegedly. Of course, this is going to continue to percolate as the investigation continues, and hopefully an indictment comes down the line soon enough. But we now have a copy of the documents that were just released, and we got our hands on this one courtesy of Just the News. And you can see the judge who issued this was Sheila Upadhyay. She's a U.S. magistrate judge, and she approved the search warrant into the residence and the office of John Bolton. And in this newly unsealed material, you can see a lot of this was actually sealed originally. And let me share with you some updates. Yes, so we looked at some of this originally to say, what could they go in and get? And remember, when we were first covering this, it's basically everything. Okay? It's like a standard warrant. You can come in, get everything, your Google accounts, your passwords, documentation, all sorts of materials. It's just a laundry list. It's like a shopping list. Criminal fraud prosecutions, classified documents prosecutions. Here's what we're looking for. Now, some things were not approved. So this is the judge cutting them out. This warrant authorizes the search of electronic devices if they believe, no, you can't do this. This one you can do if they're found within the rooms, if a person inside the room knows that they were used, but you can't just reasonably believe it. Okay, so it's like, that's too broad, so I'm cutting that out. So she goes through, the warrant gets approved, and that's what came after all of submitted to her. So then the new affidavit explains the following. I'm a special agent with the FBI. This is why we need a search warrant. This is why we needed to go into Bolton's house. And I've done this a long time. A lot of physical and electronic surveillance and more. And all of the materials in this affidavit comes from my observations. And now we think that there is enough to support a search warrant of the office used by John Bolton to get all of the things that we're asking for that we just covered. For what charges? U.S. Code, Section 18 U.S. Code, Section 793D, saying you can't have possession of classified material. You can't willfully retain anything relating to national defense. That's against the law. And Section 793E, another criminal charge. You can't communicate these things. And also Section 1924, which is if you possess these documents, you cannot retain them without authority. Okay? You can't have the documents. Saw a bunch of the same charges lobbied against President Trump for Mar-a-Lago. As we go through this, you'll see it tells us there's all sorts of different types of classifications. Obviously, top secret, secret, confidential, no foreign, not releasable to foreign nationals, SI, special intelligence, SCI, sensitive compartment information, and more. And they've got a bunch of rules around why you cannot take these documents out. But now, with all of that said, here's what they say John Bolton did. This guy is 76 years old. He resides in Maryland. He's a former public servant, nearly 4 decades of service for his position with the U.S. government. He's an attorney. He was general counsel. And look, assistant administrator for USAID. Didn't even know that. John Bolton worked for USAID. Wow, what a surprise. Then he went over to the DOJ, then went to the UN, and then during the first term was Trump's national security advisor. So he maintains locations at different spots, and we made this our target. Now, where did this material come from? His most recent position in the U.S. government was the National Security Advisor. He held that position from April 9, 2018 to September 10, 2019, as for President Trump. During his duration, he held a top secret, sensitive compartmented information security clearance, top of the line. Now, Bolton directed the work and was supposed to safeguard these materials. Now, when in consideration for his appointment, Bolton went through and he signed all the forms, okay? He signed this, yes, I know. You can't take classified documents, you understand? Yes. By signing these forms, he promised he wouldn't do anything of what he did. This paragraph has been redacted. Something happened in 2019. Redacted again. Something happened. We don't know. But then, paragraph 26, a letter was sent by the White House and the legal advisor after Bolton left the government. This is September 10th, 2019. The letter reminded Bolton, you're fired, so give us your information, any classified documents back. Return those. A copy of the letter was sent to his AOL email address. Oh my gosh, our national security advisor is still using AOL email. Like had it for 40 years, so, okay. Here's more. Redacted. Paragraph 29. Redacted. Fast forwarding. So according to government records, Bolton submitted a draft manuscript of his book, The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Gross. And so they wanted pre-publication review. They sent a letter over to somebody, and we acknowledged receipt of this, and we did a review. And based on a preliminary review, the book, oh my gosh, what an idiot, contained significant amounts of classified information. Bolton is so dumb, he turned himself in. He's like, I want to publish this book. You take a look at it. Classified document people? They're like, sure. Oh, it's filled with classified documents. I know, it's going to be amazing. Can't do that. It included classified information at the top secret level. So another letter was sent via email from Knight to Bolton's attorney. The letter said, you better modify and resubmit your manuscript, dummy. There's a large volume of classified information in this book that you're writing. The letter said, look, hey, John, as written, the manuscript is very detailed, suggesting that it was likely produced from notes written. They're sending this to Bolton's lawyer. probably coming from notes that your client made during his service. When your client received his employee debriefing, we asked him, do you have any notes? He said he did not have any notes or other records from his government service. Any notes that remain in your possession may fall under the requirements of Presidential Records Act and are subject to litigation. And so you better let us know if you have these notes or not. It may contain classified information. Redacted. Can't see it. And Roy C. Lambert absolutely hates Trump. But in ruling, he stated in the order that Bolton has gambled with the national security of the United States. Dang. He has exposed his country to harm and himself to civil and potentially criminal liability. Dang, that's what the judge said, Judge Royce C. Lambert. Not a fan of Trump at all. So anyways, so he's saying Bolton's like in big trouble. So he is. Now 35 redacted. We fast forward. And then, there you go. Yeah, his AOL account got hacked. You're kidding. A letter sent via email from Knight to Bolton's attorney references, and of course we fast forward, and described a meeting held in person on the previous Friday night between Knight and Bolton to review the manuscript, so government and Bolton. According to the letter, Knight reviewed instances of classified information, and Bolton appeared to acknowledge, she says, the need to modify the manuscript. Yeah, I got to take that stuff out. Here's a photocopy of notes that Bolton took during the meeting, which have been redacted to remove classified
right back.
info. Then, some foreign entity hacks John Bolton's AOL account. Probably sent him an instant message. Little link. Hey, John, this is an AOL customer support. Just here to help you reset your password. Just click this link.
Nobody hear yet? Fuck.
I haven't used it in a long time. DOJ and NSA. He's already gone through this many times. He's made numerous public statements screaming about Trump, talking about the sensitivity of classified information, the impacts on national security that was handled, his personal experience and practice in handling all this. That's why you can't listen to these people. They're just liars, many of them, and just not even understanding of what they're saying. They just say things. His frequent criticism of how other government officials, like Trump, handled this. Now, during a September 2016 interview, he discussed Hillary and her use of a private email server. And nothing happened to her either. Okay, so they all just think nothing's going to happen, so I can just use it as a political tool because there's classified information.
See if Dickies is open yet.
He did another interview on Fox News. In 2025, he also offered his views on the Signal platform. Remember, Pete Hegseth was getting reamed over using Signal? And he said, and John says, initially, I was totally without words. I couldn't find a way to express how stunned I was that anybody would do this. John, you had your documents in your AOL account there, bucko. You simply don't use commercial means of communications like AOL, whether it's supposedly an encrypted app. He's like talking about this. Meanwhile, some foreign country stole his entire account. He's like, it's ridiculous. I can't believe you were so irresponsible. You know, you don't know where you're going to go. You could start off talking about a newspaper article, blah, blah, blah. There's no excuse for it. There is no excuse for it, John. How come you did it? When asked to comment on the Signal situation, they say it's overblown. Nothing even was substantive in there. I don't think that's a valid point. What can this do? What kind of damage can this cause? He goes on the tirade. In another interview on CNN, he said the same thing, blah, blah, blah. So he's running his mouth while he's got foreign entities stealing his docs. Classified docs in his email account. That's exactly what was in here. Yep, there's this classified document related to this. There's this classified document related to that. He sent an email to somebody on this one. Somebody responded back. Lots of things going on here. It's probably all just a bunch of different documents because that's the missing part of the recipe. Okay, well, what is the national defense information? It's all in his emails. So here he goes on, another interview, more interviews, running his mouth. Here's what they say. All right, look. So now we're going to talk about the target office. Now, based on my training and experience, I know that individuals who engage in offenses like this probably have more documents in their homes and offices. And I know that they try to conceal this stuff on flash drives and more. Now, Bolton began using the office in December 2014. Yeah, so here's a YouTube video. I wonder who that's from. But anyways, technical terms, they say, okay, fast forwarding, what is a computer? Well, we know what it is. What is digital storage media? What is computer hardware? What's a telephone? What's a tablet? Computer passwords, ISPs, domain names, peer-to-peer file sharing, encryption, malware, blah, blah. Now, as described above, we want to go get the computers because he's got a lot of stuff on there, probably. And individuals who engage in criminal activity use a bunch of tech, SMS, text messages, and more. They'll also back up things. They'll have cloud servers. They'll have recovery passwords and more. Now, although some records in this warrant might be found in certain locations, they might also be found in other locations. Forensic evidence is something that we're looking for. And they try to hide it as well. So we got all the background. Now, probable cause from this agent. I submit that if a computer or storage medium is found in the office, it's probably going to have a bunch of other records on there. And so I want a bunch of permission to search for them. How can they conceal things? Sometimes they'll change. Oh, very sneaky. You think you're so clever, don't you? You change your JPG, your JPEG file extension over to a .text and then switch it back to conceal the image because the text open document, the text reader, can't read a JPEG, silly goose. Moreover, certain file formats like PDFs aren't searched well, and so I got to go search for these things. And the target office, he says, is a functioning office, and it conducts legitimate business. And so I think there's probably going to be more there. I also, and the judge cancels this out, I also want biometric access to certain devices. If a device is equipped with a facial recognition feature, I would like to be able to just put it in front of his face. And the judge canceled this out, said, actually, no. If law enforcement personnel encounter any device that are subject to seizure pursuant to this warrant and may be unlocked using one of the aforementioned biometric features, this warrant allows law enforcement to use that. She says no. Okay, so you can't put his fingerprint on there. You can't use his face. Can't do any of that. Judge said no. So he might still have stuff that is still locked. This warrant does not authorize law enforcement to require this person to give any passwords or unique fingerprints or any of those things. And so FBI special agent sent that in. Makshila Upadhyay, United States magistrate judge, approved it, and they got some good materials. One Dell Optiplex, one HP laptop model 17. One Dell laptop XPS, USB flash drive with a black with a green center. One binder that says U.S. Department of State Diplomatic Security, an introductory security briefing prepared for the transition team. That sounds like it's probably classified. One Dell Optiplex, a travel memo documents with pages labeled secret. U.S. mission to the United Nations with confidential documents inside. U.S. government strategic communications plan, confidential documents. Confidential documents with this type of heading. And weapons of mass destruction, classified documents. That's the big kahuna right there. Search warrant, signed and asked for permission, certified by the special agent on 9/5/2025, not long ago. So the judge came out, signed off on the order, said go and go.
All right, anybody here yet? Nope.
Did we hear from Jake Tapper talking about screaming about weapons of mass destruction like they did after Mar-a-Lago? Trump's, this is our whole country's going to die. No, because John Bolton has been a friendly to them. And this is pretty bad. So the most interesting part of this, as always, is usually the case. Not all, it's kind of a contradiction there, but as is usually the case, is this section, all of the redactions. And it sounds like everything was just tucked away in his AOL account and seized by some foreign entity. Oh, it's our government, man. And they brought Bolton on the cables like every night. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. They went through a handful of them. And he got hacked, and weapons of mass destruction information now in the hands of some foreign intelligence. So John's in big trouble. He's going to be getting indicted soon. You can almost guarantee it. We've got the search warrant has been executed. They got their hands on the documents. This is being filed out of the District of Columbia. And so we'll keep our eye on this one. But John Bolton is in big trouble. All right, now let's turn our attention to Peter Strzok, another, in our opinion, corrupt FBI individual who suffered a blow today. And here is this one. Peter Strzok, the FBI lover who was texting Lisa Page saying about President Trump in the 2016 election, we will stop him. He got fired, he sued, and now he lost his lawsuit. Oh, no. And he was very unhappy with what happened to him. And so what he did is filed a complaint against Merrick Garland. Originally, it was against Bill Barr. And this was back in 2019. He submitted this 27-page complaint from Peter Strzok, and his FBI lover, of course, plays a role in this. But he sued Attorney General Bill Barr. And he said, you know, I'm very special. I'm a special agent with the FBI. I'm incredible. And I've been so special for 25 years. I have a bunch of stickers on my refrigerator to show my mom. In June 2018, the FBI wanted to fire this guy because of his text messages that he had written. This is from his lawsuit. He's saying this. Just because he expressed his political opinions about the 2016 presidential election. And now, President Trump. Oh, the proposal to discharge Strzok identified other people, and they say it's illegal. He had free speech. You can't fire him for this. Then he was fired. August 9th, 2018. FBI said, get out of here. The discharge was effective immediately. Then they said, we got disparaged. You said a bunch of bad things about me. And you can't say those things because I have protected political speech. And so I can text my lover about stopping the president using the incoming president, using our agency to do it, to frame him like they did with Crossfire Hurricane and try to insurrect the actual victory. And Obama was behind it, meeting with Comey, meeting with Clapper, and the rest of them. So this is being sued back in 2019 by Peter Strzok. Let me fast forward to the end just so I can show you essentially what he was demanding. He says, my constitutional rights have been violated. In fact, let me back up and show you, because he also included the text messages that are at issue here. He's saying, yeah, this is what we actually said. So here, February 12th, 2016, he's texting other people, including Lisa Page. Lisa, the GA is the FBI attorney in question, which was his lover, says, oh, Trump's abysmal. I keep hoping the charade will end and people will just dump him. She sends that. GA says, God, Trump is a loathsome human. This is during the primaries. But Peter responds, yet he may win. It's going to be good for Hillary. That didn't work out for them. And she says it is, like Hillary's just going to mop the floor with Donald Trump. Would he be a worse president than Ted Cruz? Says Strzok. Trump? She says, yes, I think so. I'm not sure. OMG, Trump's an idiot, said Strzok. He's awful, said Lisa. Strzok says on June 11th, they fully deserve to go and demonstrate the absolute bigoted nonsense of Trump. Why? For wanting to stop illegal immigration? FBI says, you F and cheating MFing Russians. Bastards, I hate them. She says, I'm sorry, me too. And F the cheating MFing Russians. Bastards, I hate them. July 18, 2016. So they're thinking that the Russians are behind this. They set that up. Now, then he says, Trump is a disaster. I have no idea how destabilizing his presidency would be. It was great until you guys unleashed COVID. August 6, 2016, he says, I really like this. Quoting, Trump appears to have no ability to experience reverence, which is the foundation for any capacity to admire or serve anything bigger than self. To want to learn about anything beyond self, to want to know and deeply honor the people around you. Stupid platitudes that are meaningless, okay? You expect to read that like in a philosophy book. But he's talking to this woman. He's like, I'm going to be poetic. Maybe she'll let me touch her tonight. August 8th, 2016. Trump is like coming up in the polls. They're hitting the panic button and starting to freak out. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? She says, right? No, he's not. Will, stop it, baby. August 15th. Peter Strzok says, I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in the DD's office, the Deputy Directive Office, that there's no way that Trump gets elected. But I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40, okay? That is a clear setup. Now, you might say they're just two lovers just running their mouths. He's now bringing his office work into it. He's now talking about his government power and the mechanisms by which they can use that power to stop the president, Trump. August 15, 2016. That's an abusive office. This dude belongs in jail. Now, we'll see if that ultimately happens, but maybe not. Statute of limitations and a bunch of other things have expired, I think, for some of the allegations or some of the claims that could be made about what happened all the way back during that time. And so he may be out of the woodwork, but he sued, and now he has lost. Peter Strzok, crushed by Judge Amy Berman Jackson. And this is a lefty judge. We've covered a lot of her work here. She managed the Clinton sock drawer case. She handled a bunch of other matters that we've talked about here, including some recent matters about Trump's injunctions, firings of certain people. I think it was the CFBP, but other things. But she's been around for a long time, no fan of Trump or the administration. And she says Peter loses. Here's what she writes. And of course, she's going to give him a little bit of extra glaze. Plaintiffs Peter Strzok, who served with distinction as an FBI special agent for 25 years, was fired. FBI fired him in August 2018. So he sued. And the reason of the firing was because they discovered thousands of text messages that Strzok and a government attorney exchanged on their FBI-issued phones that we just read, including many that contained derogatory comments about the very people they were investigating. At that time, or Trump's famous people. Now, at that time, Strzok was leading the politically sensitive investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of the private email server. And they, of course, they covered that whole thing up. James Comey changed the memo, essentially, to change it from grossly negligent. He's like, oh, that's criminal. If it's grossly negligent, she's going to jail. But it's not grossly negligent, okay? It's just extremely careless. Remember that crap? Just perverting the words. And also was investigating Crossfire Hurricane, which is made up to try to stop Trump. Both Strzok and Lisa Page were also working with Robert Mueller. They were just tactic people over for the DOJ and the FBI. With the investigation into potential Russian interference, which is all fake, okay? These are operatives whose sole job is to wage political lawfare from inside the government. Now, given the concerns that the set of disparaging messages had been discovered, he was immediately removed from both investigations and all operational duties while they did an exam. Several months later, news of his removal from the special counsel team was reported in the press. The DOJ informed Congress why they publicly released the messages, and Thrust and the lawyer, Lisa, and their relationship came into the public eye because they were indicting each other, like Fannie and Nathan. This provoked a firestorm of criticism of the FBI because, of course, it was a political attack. They were openly talking about it on FBI phones. That's the type of arrogance they have. The Office of the Inspector General also issued its mid-year investigation. including inDOCtriNATION's messages. It concluded that while there was no indication that bias had tainted the inquiry, it's ridiculous. We live in such a scam government. They investigate themselves and they find they did nothing wrong. We just read the messages. He said we need a backup plan, an insurance policy to stop Trump. But no bias in any of his work. He set that aside when he was launching the investigations. They had demonstrated extremely poor judgment and a gross lack of professionalism. That's all they get. The FBI's damaged reputation for neutral fact-finding had been obliterated. The matter then fell within the purview of OPR. And they said, okay, at least fire him. In the notice, they advised Peter that they had concluded their investigation, and based on a preponderance of the evidence, like 51% more likely than not, the allegations were substantiated. You got him fired. It said the assistant director makes the final decision. He availed himself. He wanted to be heard. He said, you can't fire me. I need to rig more elections and try to take out my more political opponents. They said that no matter what happened, no matter what you say to me, the FBI director could still fire you. So then after the meeting, he transmitted a proposed last chance agreement. He's like, please don't fire me. I want to continue to rig things. Says he offered to accept the lesser sanction. Just don't fire me, okay? I'll take a 60-day suspension and you can demote me. I won't appeal that. And I could be fired if I get any infraction in the future again, okay? So he's like begging, just keep me on board. After consideration of all of this, the assistant director said no. And while termination would have been warranted, the appropriate penalty she reverses and says it's actually 60 days and demotion. She's told them that, yeah, actually, I think we should keep him for 60 days. That sounds appropriate. And so what if he was exercising extremely gross, unprofessionalism and whatever else they said? That's okay. He's really sorry now. She informed the agency's deputy director of how she wanted to proceed. He said she'd think it over. And the next morning, he informed her, actually, I'm going to overrule you. Sorry. He's going to be fired. Shout out to that dude. David Bowditch did the right thing. She tried to keep this dude because they just love themselves. Nobody can do any wrong if you're in the FBI and you're working for the FBI's interest, which in this case was to stop the president. They agreed that the letters announcing their separate determinations would be delivered. He'd get them both. And they were. So he says, well, you can't fire me. The original recommendation was to keep me and just suspend me for 60 days. A bunch of stuff got filed. He sued. Now, the Privacy Act claim was later dismissed, and discovery is now complete. And so we've got both filing motions for summary judgment just so that they can win. Now, she says, it's undisputed that Strzok served his country with distinction for 25 years. No, it is disputed, okay? That's why he got fired, because he's acting with disrepute. And he was promoted several times, got stickers for his refrigerator to show his mama. Prior to the events, he was among the FBI's leading counterintelligence experts. Actually, he was an idiot because he thought that the Russians were actually manufactured fake claims about the Russians stealing the election. It's not even accurate at all. So how could he be considered an expert? Widely recognized as extremely intelligent. It's like, golly, Judge, like, you inviting him over for dinner too? It is important to underscore, but we're not being asked here whether termination was appropriate. It's not up to the court to decide whether to end this career after a long, unblemished record of outstanding service to the agency. Judge, this is perverse. You can't do this in a public court record. It's almost like borderline intercourse with him, saying to address the lack of professionalism and all the things, they can still fire you. But the court has no say about whether firing can actually happen. I can't substitute my judgment for that of the agency. I can't say that their justification was wrong, and you have to be reinstated. Reasonable minds can differ. And so the sole question that can be asked here is whether this termination is in alignment with the Constitution. They interviewed, they deposed everybody. They went after the deputy AG, the then director of the FBI. They were trying to get the president. And after a thorough review, there is no genuine dispute of material fact that would preclude the entry of summary judgment in the defendant's favor, the government's favor. He sued Merrick Garland. Of course, now that's inherited by the current DOJ. And so you lose. When assessing your First Amendment claim, the court must balance your interest in speaking versus the employer's interest in making sure that you're not saying those things. The court considered all of these things. We considered his rank, his particular position, and we find that his interest in expressing his political opinions on his FBI phone is outweighed by the FBI's interest in avoiding the appearance of bias. Yeah, so that's interesting, Judge. But you still say he's like unblemished and incredible. He's got 25 stickers on his refrigerator. Yeah. Also, while plaintiff's memo marshals considerable indignation because he's just crying, he cannot point to evidence that supports the conclusion that he was treated more harshly than other people, saying the situation was unprecedented. Okay, there were no comparators. Nobody else was talking about insurance policies for Trump. Now, his due process claim is also misrepresenting the facts. Go figure. Once one gets past the rhetoric that comes from him, and we just saw that in his poetry, Elisa, and considers the undisputed factual record, it becomes clear there is no evidence that
it was depressing.
Entered into a contract with Will. He didn't have property interest, and he could have been fired. And so, for these reasons, the motions for summary judgment from the government will be granted and win, and Peter's motion will be denied. The full memo has been docketed under seal, which is great to read. And we can't see it because there's a lot more juicy bits in there. But the judge, Amy Berman Jackson, has now found Peter Strzok, you lose. Your case has now been adjudicated via summary judgment. And we'll see, maybe he'll text his lover about this and say, hey, baby, we failed. We'll see if that happens. We'll keep our eye on it and see if anything else comes into this. Of course, he is a co-conspirator in an ongoing conspiracy to weaponize the government against President Trump. And maybe in a RICO indictment or some broader conspiracy indictment, we can reach on back into his criminality and bring it in to the current age. We'll keep our eye on this one. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, one more update, my friends. This one about the FBI director, who is now apparently about to be in. The underground command post, deep in the bowels. This story. James Comey in big trouble. They say an indictment is coming soon. And we know it can be filled with all sorts of goodness because this man is a criminal. And we're looking forward to see all this adjudicated in courts of law all across America with him and other co-conspirators who tried to steal the presidency and rig several elections. Now, the report is coming over from Ken Delanian. He says, former FBI James Comey director says, for years, the target of the president's ire is expected to be indicted in the coming days in the Eastern District of Virginia. It's got a brand new prosecutor there, where a prosecutor who opposed bringing the case was recently fired. Three sources, familiar with the matter, told MSNBC. The full extent of the charges being prepared is unclear, but the sources believe that at least one element of the indictment, if it goes forward, will accuse him of lying to Congress during his testimony on September 30th, 2022, about whether he authorized a leak of information, which we've talked about here. We've seen a ton of evidence to support that. The 5-year statute of limitations on that charge will lapse on Tuesday, so the clock is ticking. And here is what the MSNBC report had to say with these very upset people here. Look at that scowl. Look at that.
It was 2002.
It's going to be indicted. Oh, gosh. Here you go.
James Comey is expected to be indicted in the coming days. The full extent of the charges being prepared against Comey is unclear. Joining us now, MSNBC Justice and
2012 would be
Ken Delanian, and MSNBC senior investigative correspondent Carol Leonnig. Crystal Berry,
23 years
Parker, still with us. Carol, help us understand the reporting.
So, Katie, we have some sources who say that for several
weeks now, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, and actually in offices that are potentially much further south than Alexandria, have been eyeing ways to indict Comey, and they are getting very much closer. The statute of limits, rephrase, they are arguing that Comey, there is evidence to suggest Comey lied to Congress in his testimony on the Hill in September of 2020. And for viewers out in the audience who may not be legally as nerdy as me and Ken, I'll just say that there's a statute of limitations to charge people with the crime of lying to Congress or perjury, and that's 5 years. The 5-year statute runs this month.
Yeah, and they had other congressional charges filed against guys like Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. Remember, they got subpoenas. Come in and testify. You have a bunch of information. Congress says, we want it. They didn't give it to them because they have executive privilege. They went to jail for that. They put Peter Navarro in leg irons on an airport tarmac. And now, apparently, there's good evidence that Comey lied to Congress. Here's another report from CNBC. A lot of this coming from the rumor mills. Here's what they say.
Multiple sources familiar are telling them that former FBI Director James Comey is expected to be indicted within coming days. They say this is a fluid situation, but that is the current expectation, is that an indictment would come out of the Eastern District of Virginia, potentially on allegations of lying to Congress back in 2020 in testimony up on Capitol Hill. Now, you remember, Scott, that the Eastern District of Virginia is where President Trump recently forced out a prosecutor who he argued was not moving fast enough to move ahead with charges against some of the people that President Trump views as his political enemies. You saw over the weekend the president posting social media urging his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to proceed with cases against James Comey and others. The president tweeting over the weekend, or posting over the weekend, I should say, Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story, no talk, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. So the president urging his Attorney General to move forward with cases against those folks. Now this new reporting from MSNBC suggesting that Comey, anyway, is expected to be indicted in the coming days, but of course cautioning this is a fluid situation and that could change. But that is the reporting as of right now.
All right, so we'll see if that ultimately happens. We had a clip provided over courtesy of Maze Moore on X explaining what Comey's lying looked like. Watch Comey lie under oath about the seriousness of Russian election interference. The memo that DNI Gabbard released proves clearly that Comey was lying during his testimony. He needs to be held accountable for this, and here is what he said back in front of Congress, which might lead him to be in jail.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose, they did it with sophistication, they did it with overwhelming technical efforts, and it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. And the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call.
Yes, it is. We saw how the whole thing was created. They made it up after sending report after report to Obama many times, saying it's not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. Then one day hit, I think it was 12-9. Trump had won. 12-9, Obama, Clapper, Comey, all of them come in. They pull out the 12-8 presidential daily brief, mix that one, replace it with this new report. And then Obama orders a deep dive intelligence assessment. Then they came out with the January 2017, before Trump came in, assessment saying that it was all Russia collusion, trying to institute a coup to keep the president from taking office, saying that his victory was illegitimate and the Russians hacked the system. Well, we learned, of course, that a big part of that intelligence, according to the newly declassified annexes, was the
Zipping
Steele
around on me, in front of
dossier,
me.
which was Hillary Clinton paid propaganda. They used that as a
Oh, yeah. I guess
pretext
somebody
and
else
then
pulled over up
classified
here.
the whole annex
Backing
to
up his
concede
fellow
that
piggy.
is what it was based on. And there were major disagreements inside the intelligence agencies. We read through all of the Tulsi Gabbard releases, and this dude is a liar. Lied to Congress, knew much better. They created the whole hoax, and now they say
Woodville.
he's about to be indicted. And they say they also might be getting Tishy Lay Tish as well on top of the whole thing.
Office is expected to charge Tish James, the New York Attorney General, with mortgage fraud. And of course, Donald Trump, we all saw it posted on Truth Social in recent days, exhorting his Attorney General to charge both of those people as soon as possible. But again, this is grand juries are secret. This is a fluid situation. It's also important to know, though, that the U.S. Attorney, the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney in this office, Eric Siebert, was essentially forced out last week. In part because he was refusing to bring these cases. We're told that he was opposed to prosecuting both James and Comey on these grounds, and he's out in office.
Yeah, he's out, and that's how this works. Bad prosecutorial discretion. No more political hacks in office. And they always do this thing. Trump is commenting on. Trump was the victim of each of these individuals, and they organized and tried to create an opportunity to steal the election back, hoping that it would catch on before he came into power. So Tish targeted him and weaponized her office. Bolton did the same. Comey did the same. And now they are going to pay the legal price for that. And as they lectured us for 4 years, no one is above the law. All right, my friends. So it has been a beautiful stream. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we talked about. Got the latest on Joshua John. Let's do a refresh over here. We got 3 new updates. Anything new? Yeah, the sniper's perch was close to the Dallas ICE field office, 500 feet away. They're gathering evidence on the roof of the 3-story building where he was believed to have fired shots. All 3 victims were in a van, and the gunman also fired indiscriminately at the building. And they have...
I don't even know what the allegations are. In 36 hours, they had their man, not so much because of the FBI, and not even so much because of local law enforcement. His father forced him to surrender. Okay, but why are you trying? I don't get it. So why?
Tigers, and really right now, Bobby, we've looked at this game a number of different ways, but it's kind of all about the offense right now. Yes, we need to see good starting pitching from Jack Flaherty tonight, but the offense is kind of the story. After scoring 23 runs in the first 2 games in New York, the Tigers have scored 27 in their last 11 games.
Yeah, it's just been dry. It's just been dry offensively. It seems like when they do put balls in play hard, there's somebody there. And then there's been other at-bats where the plan wasn't necessarily executed the way they wanted to, and they weren't able to get guys in, from second base or with running the scoring position, and especially with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. So whatever it looks like tonight, whatever you have to do by hook or by crook, we saw the Guardians last night put some bunts in play. We know that's not necessarily the Tiger game, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to put some solid contact on the ball. 19 strikeouts is far too many. This game is played with the ball in play. We know that. We've seen that before. So if you've got to shorten up, if you've got to have a different mentality when you get to 2 strikes, or what we talk about a lot, making sure when you get the pitch you want before 2 strikes, you put that in play, you move the baseball fair. So the attitude is there. These guys are still hungry. These guys still have a even-keeled demeanor. We just have to execute a little bit better offensively.
Through the cutter a lot, as we talked about earlier last week against the Tigers. That's also been, to righties, his most hittable pitch. So some of the things we're looking for early on, can they get on that cutter? Can they do damage against a pitch that they really didn't touch last week? And also the 4-seam fastball to lefties. Just a couple of pitches we'll be keeping an eye on to see if the Tigers can do damage, because if it does, sets up, you would think, a much better day for them.
100%. I mean, that's it. You know what he's going to do. He had success with that cutter. And to righties, in the four seamer to lefties. I mean, you just got to get on it. You know what's coming. This isn't, Tanner Bybee isn't a new commodity in any way, shape, or form. You know what you're getting. So go ahead and get on this guy.
Game time weather is brought to you by Clean Express Auto Wash, the official car wash of the Detroit Tigers. Fast, easy, clean, and free vacuums. 69 very comfortable degrees, but on the muggy side. As we get this game underway after a 35. 85-72, tied for the top spot in the Central. Their win last night, the Guardians have the tiebreaker edge now because nearly full last night, just under 30,000, and it was loud playoff atmosphere last night, and we expect to see maybe more of the same tonight, even with the rain. Swinging a pop-up, the cutter in. That ball goes over the screen. No balls in 2 strikes. Tanner Bybee, as we said, going for his 12th win in his 31st start.
Yeah, Tanner Bybee, an array of pitches, four-seam fastball, cutter, sweeper, sinker, changeup. Is a curveball. It doesn't throw it very often at all. Only about 5 times out of every 100 pitches. But those other pitches he uses quite a bit, and it's pretty fair distribution between all of them.
Meadows swings it to fly ball softly into right field. Late break, but Memphis, the right fielder, will come over and make the catch. Center fielder Schneeman cutting behind him. 1 up and 1 down. He throws the cutter, the sinker, the sweeper, the four-seam, all at least 20% of the time. He really divides it to right-handed batters between those 4 pitches, all in that 20 to 25% range. So basically 1 out of every 4 for each of those pitches. Again, cutter by righties has been quite hittable. Lefties see more four-seam fastballs, changeups, and then also the cutter. Fedor Torres takes a fastball up and away. Lefties, righties really hit him about the same for average and power. Opponents hitting 246 with solid power numbers against Bybee this year. Fastball strike. ERA is almost a full run higher than a year ago. It's really nothing that jumps out at you. Sometimes it's just a little bit of flukiness. That's why you always start with walks and strikeouts. The strikeouts are down a little bit, a little less swing and miss, but still doesn't walk many. Fastball outer third for a called strike. Filling up the strike zone to start this game. Pretty good strike thrower. Walk rate at 2.5 per 9 and the strikeout rate at 8 per 9. Just underway and scoreless after a 35-minute rain delay. Torres waiting on a 1-2, digging in, hitting 259. Four-seam fastball away. That was the cutter, wasn't it?
It had to be. 90 miles an hour.
And some serious action away from Fedor Torres. Winning the books is a four-seam fastball, but we don't think so. Average fastballs a tick above 94, the 2-2. Cutter right at the knees. Chad Whitson is our home plate umpire, and he says,
Clearly a ball, Dan.
Ball 3. He was standing up, and I thought he was standing up to ring him up.
Clearly a ball. Well down by about half an eyelash, if that.
And Moscoso had a generous strike zone for pitchers last night. Bybee over on the third base side of the rubber. Quick step back with the left foot, lifts the leg, drives to home plate, swinging the ground ball to short, up the middle. Arias scoops, 360 spin, throws to first, and gets Fedor Torres. Nice play, 2 steps to his left.
That's a really nice play by Arias. Looked like he got fooled a little bit off the bat. Like he wasn't hit quite. He was hit a little bit harder than he thought it was. Made up for it. Good play to his forehand side, little glove side spin. And once he gets it in his right hand, it's a wrap because he's got a hose.
Arias has been very good at short. Rocchio not grading out quite as well as he did last year at second base, but when we see him, he's rock solid at second. Very good on the double play. Breaking ball strike, curveball to Kerry Carpenter. Hitting 255 with 26 home runs. 3 for 10. He is The only hitter in this lineup who has a home run in his career against Tanner Bybee, 3 for 10 with a home run and a double. Tigers had early opportunities last week. Cutter, oh my goodness. That might be one of the biggest misses of the year.
That's middle down. That's middle down.
That's
a
a
strike.
ball's width and a half inside the strike zone.
Easily.
Bybee looked a little stunned, and I don't blame him. The 1-1. Swing and a miss, straight change, and Kerry Carpenter swung right through it, 1-2.
Good change of speed right there from Tanner Bybee. Sold it with the arm speed. You said it correctly. It's a straight changeup, not the two-seam changeup that fades down the way. Peeled about 10 miles an hour off his fastball. Good action on the ball.
Left side of the infield shifts to the right. The outfield plays Carpenter pull just slightly. The 1-2 pitch bounces up to home plate from the start in Detroit last week. And it's worth repeating, Bybee's given up 4 runs in his last 24 innings facing the Tigers. And not many hits in that time either. Just 16 hits in those 24 innings. Tigers had an early threat, second and third with a run in the second inning and nobody out. And then they did not add on. 2-2, swing and a miss. Change up, got him. Fly ball, ground ball, strikeout in the 1-2-3 first for Tanner Bybee. With about in the first inning. This is the home of Detroit Tigers baseball, presented by Meyer.
The hunt for October is on.
Twice over! Let's put the Phillies on time!
Sirius XM is your home for baseball's playoff chase.
Here's the home run for Philly!
From the top seed to the last wild card spot, hear every game, discuss every storyline with the experts of MLB Network Radio.
He's been unbelievable all season.
The race for the postseason is on Sirius XM 89 in the car and on the Sirius XM app.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything? Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, chef. They taste so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This is Steve Phillips from the leadoff spot. Join us as we recap every game down the stretch of the Major League Baseball season. Whether it's a division crown up for grabs, teams fighting for home field advantage, or teams chasing down the wild card, we have you covered. Who will play October baseball and who will watch the games from home? Find out on the leadoff spot, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on MLB Radio, Sirius XM Channel 89 in the car, at any time on the Sirius XM app.
In season or out of season, the number one place for college sports is Sirius XM College Sports Radio, Channel 84.
First inning today brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. Own the dream. Today's game brought to you in part by Northfield Lumber, the official lumber yard of the Detroit Tigers Radio Network. 1-2-3 first for Tanner Bybee, and Guardians now get ready to face 29-year-old from Burbank, California, Jack Flaherty. First pitch, fastball outside edge to Stephen Kwan for a called strike one. 31st start of the year for Jack Flaherty. It's been a very up and down season. 2 good starts, and hope you can channel some of that good energy from the last 2 starts against New York and these Guardians into this start today. Also, Bobby, he's had nothing but success his last 6 starts against Cleveland. History and tied to third, rest of the infield back. The 1-1 to Stephen Kwan, up and away with the slider.
And that slider, a big part of the arsenal for Jack Flaherty. He throws it about 24% of the time. The curveball, 25% of the time. Forcing fastball, 50% of the time. So that's...
For the 2-1, fastball paints the outside edge for a called strike. Got a little choked up there.
That pitch was so good. It got me choked up and emotional, Dan. That's what I was going to say. It's so important for Jack to spot that fastball so he can use his spin effectively.
The 2-2. Ground ball sharply to Gleyber Torres at second. To the glove side. Fields and flips to Torkelson. Kwan grounds out. 1 up and 1 down.
That'll make you cry too. Kwan got grounded out. It needed to get emotional. See him walking back to the dugout. Thank goodness.
He's had an off year offensively. You wouldn't know it by his numbers against the Tigers. Hitting 340 against Tigers pitching this year. Big hit in the game last night. George Valera steps to home plate. Came into the game last night to complete the at-bat after David Fry was hit in the face trying to bunt. If you missed it earlier, he is okay. Tarek Scuba went and visited him in the hospital, and he was up to making it a crack about not being able to even bunt on Tarek Scuba, which is nothing short of remarkable. George Valera takes the strike, just a handful of at-bats at the major league level. 7 for 29 with the Guardians. This is his rookie season. 24-year-old native of Queens, taps one foul. Count is no balls and 2 strikes. Last year at AAA, hit 250 with some power. This year, injuries limited him. It hit 320 with really nice power numbers. That was an 150 at bat. So comes up with a pretty nice track record of being able to hit for average and power. Swing and a miss. Wow, that's one of the best knuckle curves we've seen from Jack Flaherty in a while.
That was really, wow. That good line on it. Looked like a fastball away. Wham, just fell off the table. That spin took effect. It was biting down with the teeth, and Valero swings over the top of that one.
Ramirez, huge hand every time he steps to home plate. Boos in Detroit, and they are boos of respect.
Yeah, exactly.
And you always hear the chant of Jose, 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 Jose here. I just love it. We love watching this guy play. As much damage as he does against the Tigers. I was saying earlier, Bobby, you could make this guy the MVP, the league MVP every year.
Case could be made.
Fastball for a strike at 95. Good to see the velocity. Just for the steadiness of his production and what he means to this Cleveland.
It's unbelievable. One day, we know you're listening to us, but fans, get on Baseball Reference or pick a search engine. Look at his stats.
Check swing, didn't go. Field down the third, Edmund Moscoso says 2-1.
Over the course of his career, he has been remarkably steady, man. Remarkably steady from both sides of the plate. Defensively, he's been fantastic. And then there's stuff that the stats don't tell you about who he is and how he leads this team and how he goes about his business. It's just outstanding.
Fastball, bottom rail for a called strike, too. I like the fastball that we're seeing from Jack Flaherty and how he's locating it.
Nope, he hasn't missed a spot yet. I mean, it's out of edge, it's down. Like that, he can do whatever he wants when he's got his fastball location like that.
The 2-2, ground ball foul, knuckle curve down and in. As good as the last 2 starts have been, 10 innings, 1 run against the Yankees and Guardians, it's been a battle, meaning they were 5-inning starts for a reason. Right? He wasn't throwing strikes, and he was falling behind a lot of batters. Love to see the good strike throwing early. The 2-2, soft tap foul, stays with a knuckle curve. 282, 30 home runs, 40 steals. As he's getting older, he's stealing more bases. Usually it's the opposite every single time. I'm a base stealer early in my career, but not late. No, because he knows he can help his team. The 2-2, swinging a pop-up, slicing down the left field line, that's going to drop. Behind the green over the fielder, Ramirez on his way to second, throw won't be in time. Little flare. 7-pitch battle won by Ramirez. 2-out double here in the first.
Just a flare off the end of the bat. Now, a 4-seam fastball that had a little arm side run to it. You don't see that a ton with Jack Flaherty's fastball. That one did. He got just enough of it to dump it into left field. Riley gets over there quickly, gets it in the air, but by that time, Ramirez was sliding safely to second base. He's aboard with a 2-out double.
Brings up Kyle Manzardo. The 2 biggest threats in this lineup are back-to-back Ramirez and Manzardo. First pitch curveball from Flaherty on the outside edge for a called strike. Not many with great numbers in this lineup against Flaherty because he's been so good against the Guardians. Manzardo 1 for 7 with 4 strikeouts, swing and a miss. And you talk about Hardy. Wow. 94 blew him away.
That was just, like you said, blew his doors off right there.
McKinstry almost straight up at third as if a right-handed batter was at the plate. Sweeney keeping an eye on Ramirez at second base. We're scoreless in the bottom of the first. The 0-2, swing and miss. Stay with the fastball when he's late like that, and Jack Flaherty did. 95 by him. Second strikeout ends the first. Double does no harm. Into the second inning in Cleveland scoreless on the Detroit Tigers Radio Network.
At Comerica Bank, we're creating opportunity for small businesses to make it big. Big like hearing your small business featured in a radio ad for free, or getting free sports tickets to entertain a client. Comerica Bank brings big perks like these and more to every small business customer. To learn how opportunity happens here, visit comerica.com/prosper. Member FDIC Equal Opportunity Lender. Offers available to Comerica small business customers only. Terms apply.
At Comerica Bank, we're all about helping small businesses grow with the right tools. One way we support our clients is by providing free advertising, like we do for Superior Distribution. Stocking smoke shop items and novelty products. For information, call 248-485-5973. Grow your small business with free advertising and more at comerica.com/prosper. Member FDIC Equal Opportunity Lender.
All right, guys, who brought the boring, overpriced food to the tailgate?
Little Caesars still dear here. Try Cheesesteak Crazy Plus for only $3.99 instead. With delicious sliced steak and onions, they'll still the show at every tailgate. These taste legit. You should come to every tailgate, deal dear. Oof, I'll be honest, I don't do tailgates. Too many headlines. For a limited time this NFL season, order Cheesesteak Crazy Plus for only $3.99. Little Caesars is the real deal. Pizza. Plus tax were applicable. Available for participating locations for a limited time. Prices can vary. Prices higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and third-party online sites.
Ready to replace your old windows and doors? You'll always hit a grand slam with Pella Detroit. Call Pella Detroit at 248-292-5000 for a
Jefferson Green, Wenzel Perez against Tanner Bybee. Numbers for Bybee, 11-11, 4.30 ERA coming in. Torkelson takes first pitch, cutter, strike, perfect pitch, good take. Surprising amount of cutters really last week against the Tigers. As Bobby detailed, it's a pitch that he throws maybe one out of every 5 times, but he threw it basically one out of every 3 pitches, 35% of the time last week against the Tigers. So heavy use of that cutter. A very effective pitch. He just doesn't give up hard contact. It's not only those 4 runs in 24 innings that we talked about his last 4 starts against the Tigers. Torkelson takes perfect pitch. Another cutter paints the black away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. But last week after the Torque double, Perez single, Keith double, the Tigers really only hit maybe 2 balls hard the rest of the day. Pass ball painted, down and away, called strike 3.
Torque doesn't like that last one. That one was in strike zone. And with 2 strikes, that's a tough pitch to foul off. But you got to find a way to do it. It's a sinker.
Came back on, didn't it?
They'll come back 2-seamer. That's a tough pitch right there. He sees it off the plate, especially after seeing those first 2 cutters. That's really difficult.
A good example of what you talked about through the years, Bobby, Xing each side of the plate. I mean, that's a clinic right there.
That was textbook.
Green takes a cutter up and in. Time for dollars on deck. If Wenzel Perez now gets a hit this inning, Northfield Lumber will donate to the Ghostbusters. Northfield Lumber is Michigan's oldest business and largest Trex decking dealer. Scored us in the second inning, the 1-0 to Riley Green, who hit his 35th last night. Perfect cutter, didn't get the call. 2-0. Talk about Xing the corners, as Bobby described it. Slider or cutter away on the outside edge, and he was keeping that pitch in the strike zone, and then the sinker starts off the plate and snaps back on to change up for a strike, 2-1.
I just remember as a hitter, I got a right-handed pitcher that could throw that comeback sinker on that glove side of the plate. It's going to be a tough day.
Yeah, Torque didn't like the call because it just didn't look like a strike to him, but that tells you how good that pitch is, because it was squarely, as you said, in the strike zone. Green takes ball 3.
It's just tough. You got to, if you can stay on it, try to hit something to the right side. Stuff that he's done well this year.
3-1, up and away. Again, a guy doesn't walk many. Riley Green draws a 1-out walk here. Last week, In Detroit, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 1 run on 4 hits, and 6 innings of work. Not much trouble after the Tigers only scored 1. A big opportunity in the second, as we mentioned, and then could not add on. Guardians went on to a 3-1 win. Just need to get this offense going. Put together a string of good at-bats. Fastball strike. This is, for the Tigers, a really tough pitcher to hit. For the rest of the league, he has been fairly hittable this year. He has allowed 27 home runs. It's a pretty big number. He's worked 177 innings. The strike 1. Changeup, boy, he's located like Jack Flaherty's. There's a changeup right there.
Man, it's all of them, too. It's all the pitches he throws.
Ground ball with men on base. Above average number of ground balls and above average number of double plays. Turn behind Tanner Bybee. Shortstop Arias right up the middle. He and Rocky are pretty good on the turn. The 0-2. Change up away. Wenzel Perez doubled last night. See if they can get this bat going. It's been a tough go his last 12 games, even with that double last night. 5 for his last 47. Such a reliable and consistent bat all year. You know it's still in there with that swing last night. 1-2. Good take. Curveball bounces. A.J. Hinchcliffe talked before the game last night about the Tigers just expanding the strike zone too much. And it was both called third strikes and swing and miss, but it was also missed opportunities earlier in the at-bats.
That for me is the key. There were some pitches that hit, got missed, fouled off, what have you.
Quick toss over to first. This is a pitcher you can run on. Riley Green is not a base-stealing threat.
But moving the bat and doing your best, guys, this is hard. Like, let's make sure we level set here. But doing your best to move that ball in fair and not foul those pitches off you can hit.
2-2, up and away. Changeup missed badly, so Riley Green draws the walk on a 3-1. Wenzel Perez falls behind. No balls and 2 strikes. He's got the count to 3-2. They put Riley Green in motion here.
Say no.
I would say no. Since we haven't seen it much all year.
Swinging this lately.
3-2, swinging a shot to second base. Well, by Rocky on the backhand pitch to Arias, guns it over the first. Scoop out of the dirt by Manzano. Hard hit, scorcher, beautifully turned double play by Rocchio and Arias. 4-6-3. At the bottom of the second inning in Cleveland, scoreless. This is the home of Detroit Tigers baseball, presented by Meyer.
Hey, Metallica family. This is James.
It's Lars. This is Kirk.
It's Robert. It really means a lot to have our own channel here on Sirius XM. For us to be able to have a platform to share the music that we love, the music that we create, the music that inspires us. The most Metallica anywhere. Maximum Metallica. Do you want it?
Channel 42 and the